Captain Lee Day stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Soul's Pride and stared at something that made his heart race with fear and wonder. The massive alien ship in front of them was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It stretched across space like a metal mountain with strange blue lights dancing across its dark surface. The lights pulsed in patterns that reminded Lee Day of a heartbeat, as if the giant ship was alive. Navigator Park, So Min checked her instruments 3 times. Before she spoke, her voice shook when she reported to the captain. "Sir, we are being pulled toward that thing. Our engines cannot fight against its gravity field. We are going to crash into it unless we shut down all power right now." The crew of 50 Korean space explorers had been on a simple mission to map the empty areas beyond human space. They were supposed to catalog dead planets and asteroid fields. Nothing in their training had prepared them for this. The alien ship was so big that their own vessel looked like a tiny bug flying toward a skyscraper engineer. Kim Bora worked at her control panel with sweat dripping down her face. "Captain, I am reading breathable air inside that massive ship. Whatever built this thing, they need oxygen, just like we do. The temperature readings show it is warm in there too, maybe 20 degrees Celsius, as their ship got closer to the alien vessel." Lee Day could see details that made his mind struggle to understand what he was seeing. The docking bay they were being pulled into was large enough to hold entire cities. Massive towers and strange buildings lined the walls, stretching up into darkness. The blue lights created shadows that moved and shifted like living things. Dr. Choi Min-ho, the mission scientist, stared at his screens with wide eyes. "Captain, the energy readings from this ship are incredible. It has been running on full power for thousands of years. The computer estimates it could be 10,000 years old, maybe more, and, sir, there are life signs everywhere, but they do not match anything in our databases." Communications Officer Young-na-ri tried to send messages to the alien ship, but got no response. "They are not answering our calls, Captain, but they are definitely aware of us. Something is guiding our ship to land in a specific spot." The Soul's Pride settled onto a landing platform with surprising gentleness, considering they had no control over their movement. The platform was made of some kind of metal that seemed to glow with its own inner light. Through the windows, the crew could see corridors that disappeared into the distance. Each corridor was wide enough for their entire ship to fly through. Security Chief Han Woo-jin checked his weapons and equipment. "We need to be ready for anything, Captain. These aliens have technology far beyond ours. If they wanted to destroy us, we would already be dead. The fact that they brought us in safely might mean they want to talk medic." Oh Soo-jin prepared her medical kit and scanner. "I am reading hundreds of different life forms throughout this ship, Captain. Some of the readings are similar to humans, but others are completely unknown. We could be walking into anything, Lee." Day looked at his crew and saw the same mix of fear and excitement he felt in his own chest. They were about to become the first humans to meet alien life. The weight of that responsibility felt heavier than the alien ship's gravity. This moment would change everything for humanity. Air outside their ship was breathable according to their sensors. The temperature was comfortable, and there was no sign of dangerous radiation or toxins. Everything seemed designed to welcome them, which made Lee Day more nervous than if the aliens had pointed weapons at them, as the crew prepared their equipment and checked their suits one more time. None of them knew they were about to discover that humans possessed something the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had lost long ago. They were about to learn that being primitive and young might actually be humanity's greatest strength. The aliens who built this massive ship had been waiting for someone like them for a very long time. They had been searching the galaxy for thousands of years, looking for a species that still remembered how to dream of impossible things and make them real. They had found many advanced civilizations, but all of them had lost something important along the way. Captain Lee Day opened the airlock and stepped onto the alien platform. His boots made small echoes in the vast space around them. The first human footsteps on an alien ship would lead to discoveries that would shake the foundations of everything they thought they knew about life in the universe. The blue lights pulsed brighter, as if responding to their presence, and somewhere in the depths of the massive ship, ancient beings stirred with hope for the first time in centuries. The moment Captain Lee Day and his crew stepped off their ship, 3 tall figures emerged from the shadows of the massive corridor. The aliens moved with grace and dignity that reminded Lee Day of dancers, but there was something sad about the way they walked. Their silver skin caught the blue light and seemed to glow from within, making them look like living statues. The lead alien was taller than the others, with eyes that looked older than mountains. When it spoke, its voice did not come through the air. Instead, the words appeared directly inside the minds of every human present. The sensation was strange but not unpleasant, like remembering a conversation that had happened in a dream. "Welcome, young ones from the third world of the EI, Yellow Star," the alien said without moving its mouth. "I am Keeper Veltar, and these are my companions. We have been waiting for your kind for a very long time. Your arrival brings us hope that we had almost forgotten existed." "Communications officer." Young Nari stepped forward, her training taking over despite her amazement. "How do you know our language? How did you know we were coming to this place? We did not send any messages ahead of our ship." The 3 aliens looked at each other with expressions that seemed to carry entire conversations. Keeper Veltar turned back to the humans with what might have been a smile. "Your species broadcasts emotions and thoughts, like a bright fire in the darkness of space. We felt your curiosity and wonder long before our sensors detected your ship. It is a rare gift among the races of the galaxy, as they walked through corridors that could fit entire apartment buildings. The humans learned they were aboard a ship called the Eternal Seeker. The vessel housed survivors from 12 different alien civilizations, all refugees from wars, plagues, and disasters that had destroyed their homeworlds. The ship had been traveling between stars for over 3,000 years, carrying the last remnants of cultures that once spanned solar systems. Engineer Kim Bo-Ra noticed how the ship seemed to maintain itself. Everything was clean and perfectly organized, but there was something sterile about it, like a museum where nothing was ever touched. The technology was so advanced it seemed like magic, but it felt cold and lifeless. Keeper Veltar explained that each alien race on the ship had reached incredible heights of knowledge and power before their civilizations fell. They had built machines that could think faster than biological minds, created energy sources that could power stars, and developed medicine that could extend life for thousands of years. But Dr. Choi Min-ho noticed something strange in the alien's words. "You speak of these achievements like they happened to someone else. Why do you not sound proud of what your people accomplished?" The keeper stopped walking and turned to face the human scientist. "That is a question we have been asking ourselves for centuries. We achieved everything we dreamed of, and then we stopped dreaming. We became so focused on protecting what we had built that we forgot how to build new things. Our young ones learned to maintain and preserve, but never to create or explore security." Chief Han Woo-jin observed how the aliens moved through their own ship like tourists, visiting someone else's home. They seem to know everything about this place, but they do not act like they belong here. It is as if they are afraid to change anything. Medic. Oh, Soo-jin watched. The way alien children stayed close to their parents, never running or playing or exploring the way human children would. They are teaching their young to be careful above all else, she realized. No wonder they seemed so sad. As they continued the tour, Keeper Veltar showed them libraries that contained the collected knowledge of entire civilizations' workshops, filled with tools that could reshape matter at the atomic level, and gardens that created perfect artificial environments for hundreds of different species. Yet despite all this incredible technology and accumulated wisdom, the aliens seemed trapped in their own perfection. They had become observers of the universe rather than participants in it. They could tell you everything about how stars were born, but they had forgotten how to feel wonder at the sight of a sunset. Navigator Park. So men asked the question that was troubling all the humans. If you have all this knowledge and technology, why do you need us? What can we possibly offer that you do not already have? Keeper Veltar stopped at a window that looked out into space filled with more stars than the humans had ever seen. You still possess the fire of will that we have lost. You still believe that tomorrow can be different. From today, we have become so wise that we have forgotten how to be foolish. We have become so safe that we have forgotten how to live. The revelation hit the human crew like a physical blow. They had come into space expecting to find civilizations far ahead of them. Instead, they had found the ending of those civilizations waiting in the dark between the stars. Captain Lee Day looked at his crew and saw the same realization dawning on their faces. Humanity was not behind in some cosmic race. They were carrying something forward that everyone else had dropped along the way. After 5 days aboard the Eternal Seeker, the human crew began to understand the true scope of the tragedy they had discovered. The massive ship was not just a home to refugee populations, it was a floating museum of civilizations that had died, not from war or disaster, but from their own success. Engineer Kimbo Ra spent her time working with the ship's maintenance systems and made a discovery that chilled her to the bone. Captain, this entire vessel is slowly shutting down. The power cores are failing. The life support systems are operating at 60% efficiency, and the navigation computers are running on backup power. The alien engineers responsible for maintaining these systems knew exactly what was wrong with everything. They could diagnose problems with incredible precision and describe in perfect detail how each system was supposed to work. But when Kimbo Ra asked them to fix anything, they became paralyzed by committees and procedures. We must first convene the technical assessment board, explained Chief Engineer Morketh, a tall alien with skin like polished copper. Then we need approval from the Safety Council, followed by resource allocation meetings with the Supply Management Committee. The process typically takes between 6 and 18 months, depending on the complexity of the repair. Kimbo Ra stared at him in disbelief. Your people are going to die while you are filling out paperwork. Why do you not just fix the broken things? The alien engineer looked, genuinely confused by her question. That would be irregular. We have established procedures for important reasons. The old ways led to accidents and inefficiencies. Our current system prevents mistakes, but your current system prevents everything else. 2. Kimbo Ra pointed out. When was the last time anyone on this ship actually repaired something instead of just talking about repairing it? Security Chief Han Woo-jin observed their daily routines with growing concern. They live like people walking through a library reading about life instead of living it. They have all this incredible knowledge, but they are afraid to actually use it for anything. Dr. Choi Min-ho spent hours in their vast archives learning about races that had once burned bright across the galaxy. Each civilization followed the same pattern, Captain. They started as explorers and dreamers, building amazing things and reaching for the stars. But as they grew more advanced, they became more focused on not losing what they had gained. The Zalathi had once been master architects who built cities that floated in the clouds of gas giants, but their descendants spent all their time maintaining the old cities and never built new ones. The Morketh had been brilliant engineers, who created machines that could think and feel, but their current generation only knew how to operate the machines their ancestors had built. Navigator Park. So men found the same pattern in their star charts. They have detailed maps of thousands of worlds, but they have not actually visited any of them in over 800 years. They know where everything is, but they have forgotten how to go there. Communications. Officer Jung Na-ri discovered that they had contact protocols for communicating. with hundreds of different species, but they had not sent a message to anyone outside their ship in decades. They have the tools to reach across the galaxy, but they are afraid of what they might find. Medic. Osu Jin was most disturbed by what she learned about their medical practices. They can cure diseases that would kill humans in minutes, but they spend so much time testing and retesting their treatments that patients often die while waiting for approval. Their medicine is perfect, but it arrives too late to help anyone. The aliens had reached a point where safety and preservation had become more important than growth and discovery. They had become perfect at maintaining the status quo and completely incapable of changing it. They were drowning in their own success. Captain Lee Day called his crew together for a meeting in their ship. "We came out here looking for alien civilizations, and we found them. But they are not what we expected. They are not ahead of us in the race to explore the universe. They are sitting on the sidelines watching it pass by." The humans began to understand why their arrival had caused such excitement among the aliens. They represented something the galaxy had thought was extinct: the willingness to take crazy risks for uncertain rewards, the drive to keep pushing forward even when failure seemed certain. But as the ship's systems continued to fail around them and the aliens continued to hold meetings about holding meetings to discuss forming committees, it became clear that knowledge and wisdom alone would not save anyone. Something more was needed, something only humans seemed to still possess. On the 8th day of their stay aboard the Eternal Seeker, a critical power relay failed in the ship's core engineering section. The failure threatened to leave 3 entire decks without life support, affecting over 2,000 alien refugees. The ship's engineering staff immediately called an emergency meeting to discuss the crisis. Engineer Kim Bo-ra sat through exactly 10 minutes of their discussion before she stood up and grabbed her toolkit. "Where is the broken part?" she asked, interrupting a detailed presentation about safety protocols. Chief Engineer Morketh looked shocked by her question. "Child of Earth, you cannot simply approach the core systems without proper authorization. We must first complete safety briefings, risk assessments, and equipment inspections. The procedures exist for important reasons." Kim Bo-ra was already putting on her work gloves. "People are going to die while you are filling out paperwork. Show me where the problem is, and I will fix it right now." What followed was a perfect example of the difference between human and alien approaches to problem solving. The aliens had identified exactly what was wrong with the power relay. They knew which component had failed, how it had failed, and what needed to be done to replace it. But they also had 47 different safety procedures that needed to be followed before anyone could touch the equipment. Kim Bo-ra listened to their explanation for 5 minutes, then crawled into the maintenance shaft with her tools. The aliens watched in horror as she bypassed 3 safety systems, ignored 2 warning signs, and began working on the damaged relay with her bare hands. This approach could result in system failure, core breach, or structural collapse, worried Senior Safety Inspector Kethmore. "We have these procedures because they prevent accidents." "Yeah, or it could work perfectly fine," Kim Bo-ra answered as she rerouted power through a backup circuit. "Sometimes you have to actually try things to find out what happens." The alien engineers had never seen anything like her approach. She used spare parts in ways they were not designed for. She combined components from different systems. She made connections that their manuals said were impossible. When she could not find the right tool, she made one from materials she found lying around. Within 6 hours, the power relay was working better than it had in decades. Kim Bo-ra had not just fixed the immediate problem, she had improved the entire system, using creative solutions that the aliens had never considered. Navigator Park So-min had similar success with the ship's guidance computers. Instead of accepting that certain navigation routes were impossible because the computer said so, she found ways to make them work. She combined human intuition with alien technology to plot courses that cut travel time in half. The aliens insisted that these new routes were too dangerous to attempt. But Park So-min calmly explained how she had calculated the risks and why the routes were actually safer than the old ones. She had found ways to use gravity fields and stellar winds to help the ship instead of fighting against them. Communications officer Young Nari revolutionized their contact protocols. By doing something radical, she actually tried calling other ships, instead of spending months preparing the perfect diplomatic message. Her direct approach established contact with 5 other refugee vessels within a week. Dr. Choi Min-ho worked with their medical staff to streamline their treatment procedures. Instead of running every patient through dozens of unnecessary tests, he helped them develop faster diagnostic methods that were just as accurate. The time from diagnosis to treatment dropped from weeks to hours. Security Chief Han Woo-jin trained their security teams in human tactical thinking. Instead of following rigid patrol routes that any enemy could predict, he taught them to be unpredictable and adaptive. Their security became more effective while using fewer resources. Each success built on the last, and slowly, the alien crew began to remember what it felt like to solve problems by doing. Instead of just thinking, young aliens started asking questions about why. Things were done certain ways. Maintenance workers began suggesting improvements instead of just following orders. The transformation was not just technical, it was psychological. The aliens were remembering how to take initiative, how to experiment, how to fail, and try again. They were learning that being wrong sometimes was better than never trying to be right. Keeper Veltar watched these changes with wonder and concern. Your people are transforming our ship in ways we did not think possible. But some of our elders fear that you are moving too fast, that you are bringing chaos to our ordered existence. Captain Lee Day smiled at the old keeper. Sometimes a little chaos is exactly what you need to stay alive. Your order was killing you slowly. Our chaos might save you quickly. Word of the humans' achievements spread throughout the massive ship like wildfire, carried by young aliens who had never seen such rapid progress in their lifetimes. Representatives from all 12 surviving races came to observe these strange beings who treated impossible problems as interesting puzzles. The ship's council of elders, led by the ancient Mordoon, called for a formal assembly. The council chamber was a vast circular room that could hold thousands of beings, its walls displayed. The symbols and achievements of every civilization represented on the ship, ancient Keeper Mordoon had governed through consensus and careful deliberation for over 4 centuries. Now he faced something unprecedented. Uncontrolled change happening, faster than committees could study it. These humans are disrupting our established order, Mordoon announced to the assembled council. His voice carried the weight of centuries of experience. Their methods are dangerous and unpredictable. They ignore safety protocols, they bypass proper channels, and they encourage others to do the same. Captain Lee Day stood before beings whose combined wisdom spanned millennia, but he did not feel intimidated. Respectfully, Ancient Keeper, your established order is killing you. Your ship is falling apart because nobody wants to take responsibility for fixing it. Your people are dying, not from lack of knowledge, but from lack of action. The accusation sent shockwaves through the council chamber. Some members called for the humans to be confined to their ship before they could cause more disruption. Others argued that perhaps disruption was exactly what they needed to survive. Councillor Yethara of the Zalathi spoke with a voice like wind chimes. The humans have improved our engineering efficiency by 300% in less than 2 weeks. They have solved problems that have plagued us for decades. Their methods may be unconventional, but their results cannot be denied. But at what cost? Demanded Councillor Morketh of the engineering caste. They have violated 47 safety protocols, ignored 32 regulatory procedures, and bypassed every oversight committee. We established these systems to prevent exactly this kind of reckless behavior. The debate was interrupted when something unprecedented happened. young aliens began entering the council chamber without permission or invitation. They had been inspired by watching the humans work and wanted to speak for themselves. This had not happened in living memory. "I want to learn their methods," announced Kira Lin, a young Zalathi engineer. "I am tired of spending my life maintaining things that are slowly breaking. I want to build something new. I want to fix things instead of just watching them die." Her words opened a floodgate. More young voices joined hers from every race represented on the ship. They expressed desires and dreams that their elders thought had been safely educated out of them generations ago. They wanted to explore unknown worlds, to build new cities, to create art that had never been seen before. The ancient beings on the council had spent centuries creating a perfect, stable society where nothing unexpected could happen. Now their own children were demanding the right to be unpredictable. Young Morketh spoke up against his own elder. "I have spent my entire life learning to operate machines built by my ancestors. But I want to build machines of my own. I want to create things that have never existed before. The humans have shown me that this is possible." Dr. Choi Min-ho watched the scene unfold with amazement. "Captain, we are not just fixing their technology. We are reminding them how to hope. The change is spreading beyond our direct influence security." Chief Han Woo-jin noticed alien crew members beginning to question old limitations, propose new solutions, and take initiative without waiting for approval from higher authorities. They are remembering how to think for themselves, instead of just following orders. Communications Officer Young Na-ri observed young aliens from different races working together on projects, mixing their technologies and ideas in ways that had been forbidden for generations. They are creating hybrid solutions that neither species could develop alone. The transformation was not without resistance. Many older aliens feared that abandoning their careful systems would lead to the same disasters that had destroyed their original homeworlds. They had built their rigid society as protection against repeating past mistakes. But the younger generation had grown up in that protective shell and found it suffocating. They wanted the chance to make their own mistakes and achieve their own victories. They were tired of living in the shadow of their ancestors' achievements. Ancient Keeper Morden looked at Captain Lee Day with eyes that held both fear and hope. "Your people have awakened something in ours that we thought was safely buried. We created our ordered society to prevent chaos, but perhaps we have only delayed it." Captain Lee Day met his gaze steadily. "Chaos is not the opposite of order, Ancient Keeper. It is the raw material from which new orders are built. You cannot have growth without some disorder. You cannot have life without accepting the risk of death." The council chamber buzzed with conversation, as beings who had not disagreed about anything in decades found themselves taking sides on the most important question they had faced in centuries: should they maintain their perfect dying stability or risk everything for the chance to truly live again? 6 months after the soul's pride had been drawn into the heart of the Eternal Seeker, the massive ship bore little resemblance to the slowly dying museum it had been. The corridors that had been quiet for centuries now hummed with activity as mixed teams of humans and aliens worked on projects that would have been unthinkable under the old system. Engineer Kim Bo-ra led a revolutionary design team that included representatives from 5 different alien races. They were creating a new type of faster-than-light drive that combined human willingness to experiment with alien theoretical knowledge. The drive could travel distances in hours that would have taken the old systems months to cross. The project violated dozens of established engineering principles. It used untested combinations of materials, ran power through circuits that textbooks said would explode, and relied on calculations that existed only in theory. But it worked better than anything the aliens had built in Century's Navigator. Park So-min worked with Zalathi astrogators to map routes to worlds that had been considered unreachable since the ship began its long journey. They discovered that many planets marked as impossible to visit were actually accessible using human navigation techniques combined with alien sensor technology. The mixed navigation teams planned to visit 12 different world systems in the next year, ending the ship's isolation and reconnecting with other refugee fleets scattered across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the Eternal Seeker would be going somewhere instead of just running away. Dr. Choi Min-ho established a new medical research program that combined human experimental methods with alien biological knowledge. They developed treatments for diseases that had plagued the refugee populations for generations. The key was human willingness to test new approaches instead of endlessly studying theoretical solutions. Communications. Officer Jung Na-ri had revolutionized contact with other ships. Her direct communication style had established regular contact with 14 other refugee vessels. 2 of them had decided to change course and meet with the Eternal Seeker. The great ship would no longer travel alone, through the dark. The ship's young people, inspired by human example, began forming their own exploration teams. They wanted to visit worlds their parents had cataloged but never dared to explore. They planned to establish the first new colonies their civilizations had attempted in over 1,000 years. Security Chief Han Woo-jin trained mixed security teams using human tactical flexibility combined with alien technological superiority. The new security forces were more effective while being less restrictive. They protected people without imprisoning them in safety protocols. But the most important changes were not technical. They were social and psychological. The rigid hierarchy that had governed the ship for millennia had given way to a more flexible system where good ideas mattered more than rank or age. Young aliens worked alongside ancient beings, sharing knowledge and learning from each other. The Council of Elders still existed, but it no longer made decisions by endless committee ancient keeper. Morden had learned to balance wisdom with action, allowing space for both careful planning and bold experimentation. The Council now spent its time enabling change rather than preventing it. Keeper Veltar found Captain Lee Day on the observation deck, looking out at stars that no longer seemed unreachably distant. "Your people have given us something we thought was lost forever," he said with genuine gratitude. "The courage to try new things, knowing we might fail." Lee Day smiled at his alien friend. "You gave us something just as valuable. The knowledge to succeed, alone. We humans are crazy enough to try anything without thinking it through. Alone, you aliens are wise enough to think everything through without trying it together. We might actually accomplish something amazing." The transformation had not been without problems. Some experiments had failed spectacularly. Several projects had to be completely redesigned when human enthusiasm met alien reality. But each failure taught lessons that led to better solutions. The aliens were relearning that failure was not something to avoid at all costs, but something to learn from and overcome. The Eternal Seeker was no longer a museum preserving dead civilizations. It had become a workshop where living cultures were building something new. The ship carried crews that were ready to explore instead of just observe, to build instead of just maintain, to create instead of just preserve as the massive vessel changed course toward the galactic core where other survivor fleets waited. Both humans and aliens knew they were about to change everything. The ship carried new technologies that could revitalize dying civilizations, new philosophies that balanced wisdom, with courage and new hope that tomorrow could be better than today. Young beings from both species worked side by side in the workshops and laboratories. They spoke different languages and thought in different ways, but they shared the same dreams of building something greater than what their ancestors had achieved. They were creating a future that belonged to all of them. Captain Lee Day stood on the bridge of his small ship, now permanently docked within the vast alien vessel. He watched the stars wheel by as they traveled toward their new destiny. Humanity's first contact with galactic civilization had not been what anyone expected. Instead of meeting their superiors, they had found their partners. The Soul's pride had brought 50 humans into the heart of a dying ship. Now thousands of beings from 13 different species were working together to bring life back to the galaxy. The first contact between humanity and alien civilization was not just a meeting between species. It was the moment when the universe remembered how to dream.